From the dawn of man, indigenous people from every corner of the globe have spoken of things that have now been discounted as myth or legend. Things they saw, lived alongside by, were looked upon as deities or worshipped by gods. Things that present-day man refer to as entities, spirits, demons, cryptid creatures, extraterrestrials, and much more. But sadly, modern man, science and society has discounted what our ancestors spoke of as legend and myths. But there are those of us that know what the ancient ones spoke of is the truth. Those of us who are obsessed with finding out the truth. This search for answers brings us into the world of the unknown and unexplained. It brings us on the trail, in search of living legends. Please join us tonight in another part of our journey to find these answers and bring the truth out into the light. Welcome and thank you for listening.
There it goes. Hit the okay.
Hey, welcome everyone to another edition of On the Trail in Search of Living Legends. This is going to be episode 4, season 7. I cannot believe it's season 7. It just blows my mind.
I'm telling you, it's flying. This year it's August already.
I know. Wow. It seems like we just started the show yesterday, and 7 seasons have gone by.
It truly does. I can't believe 7 seasons.
I guess it makes me feel like I'm getting old. Yeah, so Nick, we got great guests for you tonight, by the way, everyone. You're really gonna enjoy this session. Nick, who do we have on the show tonight?
All right, well, tonight we have Montra Withers and Kyle Gibson. And right now they're out of Oregon. We don't need to say, your town or anything because we don't want people, flocking to you and begging you to take them on any kind of cryptid hunts. But I would appreciate knowing, like, what section of Oregon, north, south, east, west?
We're in northeast.
Northeast. Okay, good. Blue Mountains. And when we were speaking with you before the show started, you advised that your experiences with cryptids span 3 different states, Washington, Oregon, and California. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Jay.
Jay? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Did we introduce Kyle already?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Montra, how did you get into cryptozoology?
So I had a sighting of something when I was a kid. I was about 12 or 13.
Okay.
And didn't
Where?
tell anybody about it. What's that?
Where? In California, Oregon?
In California. Yeah, it was up in Northern California.
Northern.
And it was out in Tuolumne County.
Okay.
I was about 12 or 13 years old. And I had gone out into the woods briefly. My parents were camping, and it's kind of a long story. But anyhow, I'd seen something out there that scared the crud out of me. And I don't know what it was, but now that I've had all the experience I've had, it does have characteristics of what could have been a Bigfoot. Yeah. So, but it was watching me from behind a tree. And anyhow, so I didn't tell anybody about what had happened for years and years till I was in my adult years. And my oldest brother, Kevin, who's also into the Bigfooting phenomena too, he talked me into going onto the BFRO website and filing a report. So I did, and this was back in 98 or 99. I think it was 99. And I got a phone call from Kathy Strain, and she said, "Hi, I'm with the BFRO." And anyway, we talked for about 3 hours, and it was like I'd known her forever. And she says, "You're just an hour or so, hour and a half or whatever it was from me. Do you want to start going out and doing research together, just us girls?" And I was going, "Yeah." So anyway, I became part of the BFRO at that time. I'm no longer with them, but at that time I was with them. And so Kathy and I used to go out and go Bigfooting, and that's how I got boots on the ground, was with her. And
yeah. So, just curious, when you first saw what you saw, why didn't you tell anybody? Because this is an ongoing theme with people throughout, who have sightings.
It is. As a child, when that had happened, when I was 12 or 13, I was just with my parents. And if they would have known, my dad in particular, that I had gone out into the woods by myself, I would have been in huge trouble. So,
Oh, oh, okay,
so at first, now later on in life, I didn't talk to anybody about it just because I thought people are going to think I'm crazy. And
Right.
I don't need that. So I just never mentioned it.
yeah, that's an ongoing theme. I mean, people call me
Yeah.
up all the time, and Jay too, and we find ourselves sometimes being counselors, and
Yes.
trying to help them out. And I tell them, hey, this is 2024. I mean, nobody nobody's going to say anything. Say, oh, you're crazy. No, not at all. I mean, they've
Well,
had congressional hearings on UFOs. I mean, it's on
true.
CNN and all the channels these days.
True, but there are still people out there that are very staunch on non-believing.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm thankful they're not within my family, but sometimes people do have close family members, and you just don't say anything because you don't want to have that friction of
That
now that
stigma.
something, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, I think there's still a lot of folks out there that have never told their stories because of that, and
Sure.
some too for maybe religious reasons too. They may not want to think that they're, like I've said before, the boogeyman is real, because then that creates a whole nother set of reality parameters that may not be
Mhm.
comfortable for them. So I run into, and Kyle too, we run into a lot of people that um, when they know what we do, you know, they come to us and say, "Oh,
Right.
I want to tell you my story," because they want to unload this. They've been keeping it to themselves for a long time.
Yes.
It's not something you can go talk about, at the water cooler at the office. That's for sure. Most of the time,
Yeah.
unless maybe you work for a lumber company or something. But you know,
Right.
Yeah. I
so
mean, yeah, at the water cooler. Hey, Mike, you know what I saw yesterday? I
yeah.
mean, hell,
Hey, guess
it was
what?
a big sucker, 12
It's not
feet.
10-foot Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Affirmative vacation.
Some
Yeah.
Mantra, what was the time of day that you saw that you had the
Um,
sighting?
It was probably 1 or 2ish or afternoonish, because the sunlight was coming directly down through the
Uh
trees, so I
huh.
could see everything. Very thick woods, pine trees and such, and so it wasn't nighttime. It was very light and very easy to see everything.
Oh, did you see anything else by any chance along with it? Like in the sky? Was there any kind of a UFO in the sky?
I couldn't see the sky fully because of all the
Mm.
trees, and I actually had not looked up. Um,
Right.
I don't remember even looking up at all, because when I had, so without going into the whole long diatribe of what happened, I had gone out looking for. There was a little girl who was at the camp. We were staying at a camping area where there were a lot of different campsites, and
Hmm.
there was a little girl. We were there for 2 weeks. This little girl, I met her, and she showed me this trail that went out to this little stream about, I don't know, a city block or so out from the camp area. And so she taken me out there, and you could climb over this big rock onto this branch and swing over the little stream. Anyway, so didn't see her for a couple days, or however many, 1 day or two, or whatever. So got bored, went out to look for her. She wasn't where she was camping. So I didn't put two and two together, like thinking she had actually left with her parents. And I thought, oh, maybe she's out at the rock and playing out there. So I went out by myself to go see if she was out there. And as I had gotten to just about to where the rock was, I was looking for her, and I got that feeling that I was being watched.
Hmm.
Mm.
So, and then I thought, for sure she's out here, because I feel like, you just know there's somebody watching me, you don't have to think it
Hmm.
through. And so I'm looking through in front of me, behind me is the foot trail. I'm looking through the trees thinking she's hiding or something, and I'm not seeing anything. And I turn all the way around, and the footpath I had just come down, there was a tree about, I don't know, 15 feet away from me, maybe 20 at the most, but fairly close. And it looked like there was an arm wrapped around the tree like this.
Okay.
And there was long hair on the arm.
Mhm.
and I could see an opposable thumb and the fingers, and I'm looking at it, and I wasn't afraid, and I was not a woodsy kid at all, by the way. Um, and I kept thinking, wow, that tree looks just like an arm. That's so weird. And as I'm thinking this, there's a face that peeked out from behind the tree and looked at me. And I could see from about the bridge of the nose up, it was very flat, very dark, lots of hair. And I could see the sclera of the eye. Um, and it was just staring right at me. And it just was instantaneous, horrifying fear. And I could either run the other way and go into the woods, or I had to run past it down the foot trail to get back to the camper.
Mm.
So there was no smell either. Um, and had I had been wanted to, if whatever it was wanted to do me harm, it would have been pretty easy. I ended up
Yeah.
running right by it, and all it had to do was just to reach out and clothesline me and pick me up and whatever.
Right.
It did not. So of course, but um, anyway, I was so scared and so shook up, and I don't think I came out of that camper again the rest of the time we were there. So
I don't blame you. You were like you said, you were a young girl. You know,
yeah, I was yeah. So
it must have scared the heck out of you. You
How
remember a
long,
color?
how long after that first sighting did you go before you saw something else?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I was in my 30s, I believe. Yeah, I was in my early 30s when I had told my brother about it, who then told me to go out with Kathy, or not told me to go out with Kathy, but then I put the report in. I talked to Kathy, went out with her, and her and I had a lot of different activity. Um, the pro- uh, some of the things I saw, I just don't know if they were a Bigfoot or not. It's very
Hmm.
hard.
Right.
There was an expedition that we were out on with a large group of people. We had all split up and taken different groups of people with us out into the California redwoods. And the group that I was with was all men except for just me and Kathy. And it was really grassy, kind of a, it was in the mountains, so it was a kind of a grassy area. And then there were pockets of like a tree with some kind of cruddy shrubs around it. And where we were, there was one of these little areas where there was kind of a little shrubs and stuff, and then a couple trees or whatever, big pine trees coming whatnot out of it. And we were standing there, and at that time, we were not allowed to have flashlights with us. This was with the BFRO back then, way back then, and um, and so Kathy and I, somebody had said something. I don't know how it started, but there's something in the bushes or something. And Kathy and I looked over, and in this clump of bushes and with trees in it, there were, it was so silly looking to me at first, and I know to Kathy too. It was just two red glowing dots, and almost like a bad Dracula movie, right?
Hmm.
And these two red dots were kind of down low, maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet off the ground, something like that. And so we're looking at this, and so Kathy and I looked at each other like, what is that? And so her and I left the guys behind us, and we started walking towards it. And we got about maybe 6 or 7 or so feet from it. And whatever this was, those two little red dots started rising up as though whatever it was now standing. And they rose up and they kept going. And then it was almost like somebody took a dimmer switch and gone.
I've had that happen. Same thing, and it's a very weird experience.
It was extremely weird. And there was no noise. There was no,
No noise. Yeah.
yeah. And so, and there were dead leaves. I mean, if there was something there that was tangible, you would have heard crunching or moving or something.
Right.
There was no sound. And so needless to say, we went into the brush looking to see if there were, not knowing what was on the ground, but looking to see if there were prints or any disturbance in the dust on the ground,
Mm.
and there was nothing.
Wow.
So,
Hmm.
and there was nowhere for something as large that would have had to be to have eyes that were that far apart. It
Right.
didn't stand up that tall. There was nowhere that it could have run off to without any of
Right.
us seeing or hearing or something, because there was a number of us
Something.
out there.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I've had a lot of weird experiences. I have not had um, a Sasquatch come out in front of me or me see one completely plainly,
No,
um,
no, it's all right.
other than when I was a kid. So
Yeah.
we've had, and
Hmm.
Kyle and I together have had so many weird things happen.
Well, let's hear 'em. We love weird. We love weird.
Well, we have plenty of weird. So
We love weird. Remind me of my wife and I.
yeah,
We go after the weird too a lot.
yeah.
That is something they've done.
And so
So,
you don't know sometimes what bucket to put it in. Is it something that just goes in their paranormal bucket? Is it something that goes, is this UFO related? Is there, did we see something in the
Right.
sky? Is it, or is this something in the Bigfoot genre? Do we put it in that bucket? I mean, and
Right.
for us, we have learned, for us anyway, this may not suit other people, but that um, a friend of ours, Barry Fitzgerald, who used to be on Ghost Hunters International, amazing researcher, amazing human being. We just love him. He's a friend of ours. What he said to us one time is just so true, and that's everything's connected.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
we've found in time that that is so true,
It
because
is.
you have all these jigsaw puzzle pieces and you try to make sense of things
and they don't fit together.
and they don't, and then
No.
instead of making them fit together, you end up with more puzzle pieces that are like, wait a minute, if
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
makes
We get some answers, and then
You get more.
there's
You get more
there's
questions.
a thousand more questions just because you got a couple of good answers.
Crazy.
yeah.
So, so Kyle, how did you get started in this?
I grew up in the wilderness. I'm an outdoorsman. I hunt, fish. I grew up, with a family that we hunt and fish on the weekends, and spend a lot of times outside in the woods. And actually, I grew up on an area where there's a popular river that goes from a long distance and goes up into the mountains and then comes back down into an area that's kind of a protected land area, for animals and stuff. And I used to play down there when I was a kid. We'd go down there and catfish, and we'd fish for bass, and because our grandparents lived right across the street from the river, and so we'd always, as kids, we'd play down there because there was a huge belt of trees and stuff. And when I
Mm,
go
a
down
lot of
there,
fun,
oh
right?
yeah, but when I go down there, it's one of those things. Or one of the other neighborhood kids, we'd go down together, and fish. But when we're coming back at right before dark at dusk, we'd always feel like something's watching us. And we couldn't quite, like something's not right, And then in time, throughout all the years of going down there, we would find prints and stuff. And one time, I just got my one of my old pickup trucks, and we were down there behind there at night because we are gonna go catfishing, and something walked in front of our truck, and I turned on the brights, and there was two of them, and they walked right across the road in front of me,
Oh wow.
and I was like, I was in shock, And my buddy sitting next to me, we were like, he was so scared. He's like, I just want to go home. I just
So
want
we're
to go home.
talking Bigfoot, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 And then after
Something
that,
Jay and I were talking about before you guys came on the show. We were wondering, have either of you ever had an experience, a sighting of a dog man?
not that I can say because I don't know. I mean, they don't have the ones that I've seen never had like a pointed ear, like they say they're like
Right.
a dog man. You know what I mean? But also a lot of these things are at distances too. They're not like right up front. You'll see
Right.
Right.
you see them at distance.
Plus, in the area that you grew up, Washington, I mean, you have a lot of bear up there,
Yeah.
so that can be
No.
taken
Yeah.
for
But
for
down there
something else.
down there where I live, there was no bears, and there was a lot more weird activity going on because my family worked for the nuclear plant,
Okay.
Oh,
and so we had all kinds of crazy lights and all kinds of
Oh, I bet.
stuff going on. Yeah,
oh
all
my
the
God.
time. Yeah. In fact, when
I mean,
mom
it
moved,
may or may not be the government doing things. It might
yeah,
be that the nuclear plant was attracting something alien,
yep,
source. Can't
yeah,
tell unless you can actually, I guess, get close enough to see it.
right.
That must have been some interesting times.
When she moved down here, I took her out there because there's an area that I used to duck hunt and goose hunt, and it's across the river from that area, and and you can get to it and see it, see the nuclear area, but you can't cross the river because you'd be, helicopters and boats and everything.
Oh,
And I brought her out there, and she got to watch the UFOs. I mean, I just took her.
Oh, wow.
I'll show you the UFOs one night, and I took her out there, and she was like,
Yeah, there's, we found these tracks when we were there too. We've been there a number of times, but it was in the snow,
they were
and
fresh.
yeah, these were the weirdest tracks I have. I don't even know what category they're in, but I had sent them to a guy cross country he's a professional tracker, and I said, can you tell me what this is? Is it some, is it a person? Is it what is it? And he said, well, it looks like a very large one-legged dog could have possibly done it because there were
Wow.
only, I think it was left feet. There were only left feet.
Only left feet. Yeah.
Wow.
And it kept repeating like it was like 7 feet or something. It was the strangest thing. And there were some kind of weird little marks in between. Like, is that a tail drag? I don't even know what it is. But, and
It was fresh because it was snowing, and the snow was only like
yeah.
this deep, and the tracks were like brand
And
new.
we followed those
Yeah.
tracks.
I followed them in my truck for a long ways.
Yeah, it was about a half a mile.
Wow.
And it was just, I kept thinking, is it some sort of a weird tire, maybe? Or, I mean, you keep thinking in your head, like, this can't be something that's, flesh and blood or real or whatever, because it's just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. So, anyway, that was out there right on the edge of the Hanford nuclear facility. So, there's a lot of weird stuff out there.
Oh,
do you
yeah.
recall with the left foot tracks? Do you recall possibly how big it was, and how far
They
apart
were
they were?
they were big, and they were probably, I'd say they were at least a foot long at
About a foot
least.
long.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they were about
They were long
6 or 7
strides.
feet apart,
Yeah.
How much?
like 6 or 7 feet apart.
Oh,
So
Wow.
I just,
I guess Bigfoot had one leg and he was
I
hopping.
maybe he had a peg leg on the other side, and I just didn't see the little dot or something. I don't know,
Man,
but it was really weird.
that is strange. I gotta
It,
admit.
Six,
it was,
7 foot stride.
Wow,
That's big.
that's a big hop.
Yeah.
it's a huge, yeah. And so that's why, I mean, the guy who he'd never seen anything like this before, and it was his best guess. And I thought he was kidding at first, and I'm going, that's your summation of this whole thing. Yep. I can't tell you, I've never seen anything before like it. So
Hmm.
So, Kyle, as far as Sasquatch encounters, how many have you had any in recent times?
Not recently. We've seen we've seen a lot of tracks and stuff. We always find tracks,
mostly
Right.
vocalization.
but vocalizations. We have a lot of vocalizations.
Recently.
Yeah,
Cool.
we even had some here. We live just at the base of the mountain, so we've actually had some stuff here. The neighbors, in fact, about 2 weeks ago, we were out there playing horseshoes with him. And she's like, "Did you hear a man screaming in the middle of the night the other night? It was around 2 o'clock in the morning." And I'm like, I start laughing. I'm like, "No, I'm not. I don't. I wasn't even up. I didn't even hear it."
Yeah, she said it was the weirdest thing she ever heard, and it went on and on and on and on. I was like, he didn't take a breath, and she
At
said,
2 a.m.
yeah, she got so scared she took all her dogs in and closed the windows.
Because we have a creek that runs from the mountains to a reservoir, and then the creek runs from the reservoir right into my backyard.
Well, it runs through the back.
Okay.
Yeah, so we get deer
Right
back
into your
there.
backyard. Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Yeah, we get all kinds of animals. We got wild turkey, deer.
Awesome.
Once in a while, we get elk. So, yeah.
As I advise a lot of people that call in, and they're like, "Well, why are they in near my area? Why are they coming to my property?" One of my first things that I ask them is there any water? Is there a water source where you live?
Mm.
Because all living creatures are going to need water. So if it's a Sasquatch, a dog man, or a lizard man, it doesn't matter what. It's probably going to gravitate towards the water. And then the
Okay.
next thing they're going to want is a food source. Is there deer? Are there, coyotes, raccoons? No matter what, what's out there. And sure enough, after they give me all the info, it's like, oh yeah, that's why they're in your area.
Yeah,
You have a water source,
everything.
and there's fish in the water too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Generally, too, we found that if an area can support bear, it could
Yes.
very likely support something as large as the Sasquatch.
I totally agree with you. They're both being omnivores. You know, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Let me ask you guys a question. When was the first time you guys had a weird experience together as a couple?
On our first date? No, just kidding.
Okay.
When we made eye contact? No, just kidding. No, I don't know. As a couple, let's see, because we kind of hit the ground running and we were doing Bigfooting right away.
We were going all over the place.
Yeah, and at the time I was living in California and I was flying up here to see him, and we were together like every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so I'd say probably maybe probably up at bumping maybe.
Yeah. So I'm thinking.
Yeah, at the time, so we were doing a lot of research, which is a very kind of not overly researched, but I guess it could never be overly researched. But it's a very popular research place, and it's called Bumping Lake in Washington. And it's probably one of the strangest places I've done research, and it's a place that Kyle's very familiar with because he's been up
I
there
grew up going
his whole
there
life.
as a kid and everything. I've heard stories from hundreds of people, and I know people that go up there, and we've had some of the craziest experiences up there. Like,
And
and there's nobody up there. Like during the winter time, they close it all off,
yeah,
and we've had some strange things in the winter when there's
we
nobody up
take
there.
snowmobiles up in the
Yeah.
wintertime so we can get back in and still do research then. But
Right.
we had we brought a group of people up with us, and one of our best friends, Jackie, and a film crew because there was a show I used to do down in Fresno, and so the film crew came up to go up to Bumping to film an
Hmm.
episode, and they had all flown in. They were all tired. We were staying at his mom's cabin, which is up there in Natchez, and anyhow, so it was like what midnight or something. We
Yeah.
finally got everybody settled in up there, and so Kyle and I were still wanted to go do something. We said, okay, it might be raining, but does anybody want to go bigfooting? And so Johnny, one of the film crew, he said, yeah, I'll do it. So he got in the truck, got the equipment, went over to Bumping, which is like 20 minutes or so up the road.
Because he's never been
Yeah, he never been before.
bigfooting or anything like that.
Oh,
And
no.
Oh Lord.
and so there's a good thing about beginner's luck, I'll tell you. So
Yeah.
we ended up, it was raining pretty hard, so we
Oh, it was
parked.
raining so hard.
Yeah, we parked in this one area, and
And there's nobody up there. The roads
oh
were
yeah, there's nobody dumb
nobody.
enough but us to go up in the rain.
I mean, like if
Right?
you go outside for just open the door and go outside, it feels like somebody just dumped
It
a
was
bucket
pouring.
over your head. That
Yeah.
much rain.
So we had rolled the windows down a little bit just to be able to hear outside, and I'll be darned, we could hear a scream, and it was a long scream, and Kyle and I were like, wow, there you go,
There you go,
Johnny.
Johnny. He's back. He's up. He's recording with his
And he
phone.
had this presence of mind to actually record it on his phone, and we weren't. We were like, yeah, there you go,
We're just like we've heard this
So,
like many times, you know.
so
So there's two of them on the other, so that thing would scream, and then the one other one would scream, and they
was
were going
answering
back
back.
and forth.
Yeah,
Back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was recording it, and
Oh,
he
cool.
was like, man, I'm so happy I went with you guys, you
yeah,
know.
it was
That's
really
awesome.
Yeah,
very cool. So, and that was a few years. That was probably what, like 4 or 5 years ago
yeah.
now. Oh, 5 years ago. Jeez. But
Have you ever seen one up close together, personally? Like the two of you together?
we've had things happen right in front of us, but not seen an actual anything.
Right.
So, for example, we were up in the woods. You want to say? Want to tell 'em?
What do you want to tell them about the Halloween spot?
Oh, no, not yet. That's
Okay,
another one.
okay,
Oh, Lordy.
okay.
Well, just the most recent one was we're out in the woods. We were trying to figure out which way we should go because there's no trail and we're just out and about. And as we're standing there, there was a small tree in front of us, probably like 2 feet away. Yeah, maybe 3 feet. And and as we're talking, one of the branches went shrink, like something had been holding it back.
Yeah.
It let go.
Oh,
Yeah.
And there
But me
was
and her are both staring at this thing. It's just a few feet in front of us, and we both look at each other and said, "Did you just see that branch move?"
it was really
And she's like,
Wow.
"Yeah." So there's no wind, there's nothing. What
and we're trying to debunk it. We're
I
like,
was
yeah,
like, what
there's
can
no
move?
bird.
What can just
Sure.
why can it just move like that all of a sudden? You know?
And then we felt the branch, and it wasn't like it was stuck or there was nothing for it to stick to. And we just couldn't come up with any explanation. We were trying to figure out how could it, there was no bird, there was no squirrel, there was no wind, there was
Nothing.
no string or so. But so there's things that happen to us like that are just high strangeness, and they happen
Sure.
to us quite a bit. And the first thing we try to do is debunk everything because there's
Yeah.
always reasons for stuff. In fact, a lot of pictures and stuff that I see, Bigfooting pictures and stuff, and UFOs and things like that, I'm really skeptical with that, and so is Kyle because
You were on the same page
yeah,
Because you
because
can
with
take them
that.
and blow them up, and you can
well,
see.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll think that you're seeing something if you're moving or something. And then you
Yeah.
really take a good look at it, and you're like, oh no, no, that's just a tree or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we had it happen to us where we were
Yeah,
out and back on the snowmobiles. You
yeah,
want me to tell you?
yeah.
I feel like I'm doing all the talking. Sorry.
All right.
I didn't feel that. I mean, yeah,
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 we'd taken this picture of what we thought we saw a Sasquatch
Hmm.
off down a bank in the snow and off in the distance, not too far away, like I don't
quite.
know,
It was quite a ways away.
maybe like 100 feet, something
At
like that.
least, yeah.
Yes, and it looked exactly like one. So we took a bunch of pictures. We're on the snowmobile, and it never moved.
Mm.
But anyhow, got home, developed or had the pictures blown up and stuff, and we're like, oh my god, you could even see the brow ridge, and all this stuff on the pictures. Well, we ended up going back in the spring after the snow had
After
thawed,
snow melting. Yeah.
found the exact same spot,
Mm.
and it was a tree snag.
Yeah.
And but I tell you what, it looked like
It was
it,
good.
it, it was
It was the weirdest tree snag I've ever seen. Yeah.
it looked just like one. And
It's funny you mentioned tree. When I had my second encounter, I I was coming around the bend and there's this tree standing in the pond. And I said, "Well, that's kind of weird. There wasn't a tree in the pond on my way in." And
Yeah.
then, I crossed the roundabout and the tree turned and looked at me. So I hear a lot of point being, I hear a lot of people of, talk about what we're talking about now with the trees, mistaking them the tree for trees and vice versa.
Right.
You know, that's interesting.
Yeah, because as trees grow older and everything, sometimes just by happenstance, it you might have a little bit of a face on it.
Exactly.
Just because
Or
it got
arms.
worn that way. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from a distance. And guys, I was talking with Jay an hour or so ago about one of the members of the IDP. They sent in a clip of a Sasquatch behind some brush, and I blew it up on I got a large screen TV. I blew it up on it, and I go, oh, no, that's a bear. It was a black bear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Jay
the
saw
same
the
one.
same picture, and he goes, yeah, it's a bear. And they're claiming it's a Sasquatch. No, you can tell a bear with the snout and
There's
everything. A
yeah.
Squatch is a more flat
Yeah.
face, and
Mhm.
if anything, I would have hoped they would have said, gee, it's a dog man, but no, actually it was a bear.
Yeah, even with the Dogman thing, it still would have been a bear.
Yeah,
It's
it
still a
wouldn't have
bear,
been.
no doubt, no
Yeah,
doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were claiming Sasquatch, but nope.
that snout does not look anything like a Bigfoot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a friend of ours, Kirk Reed. I think he's in Ohio. Known him for a long time, and he's done a lot of research on Dogman and stuff. I guess they have a lot of sightings, or not a lot,
Yes, they do.
Ohio's a big
back in
place for
Ohio.
that.
Yeah.
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 Have you
Huge.
guys seen any UFOs when you were out and about?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
We actually went to a ranch called Space Wolf Ranch, which borders Skinwalker Ranch.
It's a neighbor.
Oh,
So basically, you can put your foot through the fence and go, "I want Skinwalker Ranch," and put your foot back.
right,
But it's even better because
right.
it's Skinwalker's down here, and this one
It's up above a
right,
little bit.
and the
Up
Oh, they're
property
right
above.
up above. That's really
Yeah.
good.
Just enough where you can look
You can
down
look down to see the kill pins and everything down there.
and
Now.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
ranch house and the whole Skinwalker Ridge is like right in front of you that goes all the way down. And so we spent three days out there, and some nights we didn't stay there overnight. We stayed in a hotel, but we
We
were
stayed
there
there
till
late.
we were falling asleep and we crawled back to the hotel. But
'Cause that place is a happening place. Let me tell you what, man.
That's what I've
First
heard.
I was at first I was like, this is just all hype, I'm gonna go there and it's gonna be just like going,
Yeah, and this was before the show, so this
Yeah.
was
Yeah, yeah.
And then we went there and we're like, what the heck is that? There was like a tractor beam light coming out of the sky, like coming right down onto the mesa. It looked like this football stadium lights, that you shine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how's that coming out of the sky and going right for the mesa?
yeah, so
And
many.
there was orbs floating around. There was so much weirdness there.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
It was
Really, really
bizarre.
That place has been active a lot longer than people think. People, just because of the show, people think it's a recent thing. But I remember reading the book 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
Hunt for the Skinwalker.
Yep, with George Knapp and
Yeah, George Knapp and George Norrie.
yeah.
And you
Yeah,
think
I
about
remember
all
reading
those
that.
guys.
Yep.
There was people way before them even. So you know what I
Was
mean?
there?
That place has been going
Yeah, oh
on.
yeah, the ex owners, right? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. I can't remember their name offhand, but
yeah. I can't
yeah,
either.
and before them, I mean, that place was Indian
Indian
place.
Navajo and yeah,
Yeah, and the I think it was Ute. Was it the Ute tribe was out there
you,
too?
yeah,
Yeah. You
But
tried, yep.
but there's a place that's I don't know how many miles away it is, but it's probably like, I don't know, an hour drive or something like that,
Yeah.
that we went to also, where
Funky
yeah, the McConkey Ranch.
mm,
And there's a bunch of
petroglyphs.
petroglyphs, and so it's
okay.
really cool. If anybody ever gets a chance to go there, it's really really cool. You just basically walk yourself around the trail, and it goes out a ways.
Well, the guys
And
from Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, the new Beyond Skinwalker Ranch that's
yeah,
after that, those guys went to that
oh
ranch,
yeah, I
and
think
then
they
we were
did.
looking at those.
Yeah, I think there's an
'Cause-
episode recently.
yeah,
When
because it always has those spiral glyphs, which they're all claiming
Right.
those are
Mhm.
portals. We think those are portals.
yeah, the tribe that was out there before, they were headhunters.
Yes.
So
Cannibals. Yep.
yeah, and so that particular area just has like a whole weird bad kind of vibe to it. It's different.
And there's wasn't there two tribes that were at war with each other at that
Yeah.
way back
I don't
then?
I don't know
Well,
enough
in the
enough
basin there
to
was.
say, but
That's
I'm
how the
sure there was.
Skinwalker thing came.
Oh,
There
okay.
was two
I wonder
clans
if
that
it
were
was.
fighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
but it's really really a neat thing to go see. And but anyway, so the whole Uinta Basin is just weird. It's there's kind of, even though Skinwalker Ranch itself is like 420 acres or something
Hmm.
like that, there's no boundary to where the weirdness stops and starts.
No, no.
So
Yeah, because right below that rock mesa that goes all through there, there's basically that's a trench going all the way through there for miles.
Right.
That weirdness follows those little creeks in that trench that goes through there. Because there's people all the way that we were talking to because we were meeting all kinds of people, and there was
Right.
the reservoir up there, the bottle that has all the glass bottles
hmm
or whatever.
hmm
But
Right.
we were talking about all kinds of, there's just so much stuff going on. It's not
Oh
one
yeah.
spot. It's everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
After you two visited that ranch and you went home, did any strange things happen to you?
Not really. Nothing more than usual.
Now, the reason I ask is because of a lot of people that had went to Skinwalker Ranch.
Right at home.
When they went home, they had some quite strange occurrences happen.
Yeah.
So I
We
was just
luckily were
wondering
not.
if, since you were so close, maybe something may have happened that you could relate to us.
Yeah, luckily for us, nothing. We
Nothing
didn't have
happened.
any weird
No,
activity
that's the
going on.
truth.
So
Yeah, because some of the stuff was pretty bad that happened to the
Yeah.
people that went to Skinwalker.
well, I
Yeah.
think in Jay, in that book, The Hunt for the Skinwalker, the
Yeah.
tribe, there was a line. I think George Knapp said it or something in there that said, the ranch will, something to the effect of, the ranch will size you up and either leave
Yes.
you alone or really pick on you. He said it much more
Yes.
eloquently than that,
Something
but
like that. Yeah.
yeah, it was something to that effect. And so, um,
I mean,
yeah,
he's
there were
right.
yeah, there were people that had visited the ranch before it became. I think it was while it was
Mhm.
still in Bigelow's hands. There was a guy, I think it might even be in that book, that was some guy who wanted to, like, sit and be in tune with nature or something. So he kind of barged his way in and ended up getting like screamed at by some unseen entity, and it scared him so
Hmm.
bad he didn't ever come back. But
Yeah, the guy
Wow.
out there, the caretaker of the Space Wolf Ranch, he told us about they had some Bigfoot creatures that actually there was an RV out there that had these big lights on the RV that would shine at night on the lights.
Mm-hmm.
And the caretaker told us that two Bigfoot creatures came up and tore, and you could see where the aluminum on the outside of the trailer, the lights were torn off of that trailer, like literally like ripped off.
Wow.
And that
I
kind
know
of,
they've had a lot of stuff happen.
oh yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of cryptids. A lot of. There's been Thunderbird sightings. You know,
Yeah, they've had
reptilian,
Dogman there slash
dogmen.
Bigfoot, right?
Yeah,
It's amazing how it's
it's a
like a
cryptid
zoo for
zoo.
cryptids over there.
Yeah.
Cryptid Zoo.
It truly is.
Sounds like a new band somebody formed, Cryptid Zoo. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. There's just so much different stuff, and that's it shouldn't all go together, but it is.
It does. Yeah. Yep. How, I don't know how, but somehow it's all linked together. It's got to be. You know, if you were to ask me 15, 20 years ago which side of the fence I was on, I would have told you it was some sort of undiscovered gorilla. But as I had more sightings and the years went on and the weird crap started happening to me, I put two and two together and said, this is more than just some mountain ape.
yeah.
You know, there's way more to it than that. There's
Mm.
all these things. It's not a coincidence that they all happen at the same time. You know.
Right. What's kind of good for us too is that Kyle's background is being a total outdoorsman his whole life since he was a little
Yeah.
kid, and then also UFOs. He studied UFOs forever, and
Yeah,
No.
so
Okay.
my whole
and
family had clearances, and they worked out at the Hanford site, and so I was around a lot of people, with PhDs and stuff, and
Okay.
growing up and stuff, and they would talk about those things in front of
All
us,
right.
and so I was just always very interested in that, because they shouldn't back then they shouldn't have that kind of stuff going on, but in that little town there was always some weird things happening in that little town. So,
Yeah. It seems like some of these small towns just have so much
yeah,
weird activity going on. You know.
oh yeah. And then for me, I mean, I've done ghost hunting since I got my driver's license. That was like the first thing
Yeah.
I did. So with our two backgrounds of ghost hunting research and UFO stuff, and then for us both to end up in the Bigfoot genre too, it's helpful because if something's a tad more weird on the ghosty paranormally side, then
Hmm.
I kind of know something that's close to that I've already read or experienced or whatever. And then same thing with Kyle. If there's something that's involved with UFOs or aliens or things like that, he's
Yeah.
right on it, and he can pull from his background. So
All right. My wife was a paranormal investigator by trade before we were married, so
wow,
it's like kind of the same. Like she realized, we brought the cryptid and the ghost hunting together,
it's very
so
helpful.
we help each other out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very interesting, when they like the new Skinwalker stuff and talk about all these different frequencies and stuff, and you're just
Yeah.
like, I might want to try those frequencies and see what happens and see if we get the same kind of frequencies in some of those areas that we go into,
hmm
Yeah.
because we got some places up here, pretty cool where we live because, like I said, we're at the base of the mountain, but we can drive one way and not run in. The towns are no bigger than like a block or a street long. There's little
Wow.
towns, but it's all mountains forever. So it's really cool. Lots of water, lots of mountains.
hmm
Um, I've We have horses and stuff, and so I get a lot. I have to go after hay a lot to feed the horses, and so I've been talking with the tribe. I get all my food for the horses from the tribe,
Yep.
and so I'm trying to meet the tribe because back in Washington, one of my Bigfoot research areas was my fishing area that I used to spend. I spent like 10 years on the Colville Indian Reservation in Washington State, right above Grand Coulee, and I got to know some of the natives over there, and I got a lot of really good information, from some of the elders, and then some of the people that have lived along the river for a very
Very
long
cool.
time. So now that we live over here, I'm trying to kind of do the same thing, but it's very interesting because they don't just talk to you; you have to get to know them, and then after you do business with them for a while, and they get to know you, and
Yep.
then they kind of open up to you and start talking to you.
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's
Well,
hard
you're
to get
very
the skin to
fortunate.
open
Yeah.
up. What were you saying, Nick?
I was going to say, Kyle, you're very fortunate that they did, wind up
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah.
Because during my time of research out throughout the entire United States, anytime I've come upon a Native American Indian tribe, no matter how long I spend with them, they still don't want to speak to me about Thunderbirds, Bigfoot, Dogman, and whatnot, whatever. Uh,
Yeah, well, because
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm not the right nationality.
so me, because I'd have my boat up there and I was on the lake every weekend and I fish, and some of
Yeah.
them I actually take with me. I'd be like, hey, you want to go fishing this weekend. And that's how we get to know each other. And that's how I
That's
met
Yeah,
cool.
the people up there and stuff,
Well,
for fishing. You know,
Kyle knows everybody. He's such a social butterfly. I'm more introverted, and we could
well,
be walking
that's how you
somewhere,
learn is from talking
and
to people. That's how you learn
he
things.
knows people everywhere we go. It's funny because we were taking a walk one time. It was on this little sidewalk somewhere by the river. I don't even remember where we were, and it was nighttime. And there was a jogger coming towards us, and with a black hoodie on, couldn't even
We're
see
in
his
a
face.
different state too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, in a different state. And we're rolling, and he goes, "Hi, Mr. Finkley," or whatever the guy's name was. And it turns out it was his old elementary school teacher. And I'm like, what the? How do you
From like
do
first grade.
this? It's
Yeah.
like magic. He knows everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I was in Mexico one time on a beach and somebody came up and bought me a drink and they were like, "Hey Kyle, how you doing?" People are like, "How do you know people in Mexico?" I
It's just
know people
happened.
everywhere.
It's interesting some of the things that happen in this world. I'll tell you what, it's crazy. Back to the Native American thing. I'm part Mohawk, and it's even hard. I'm 2 minutes from the Canadian border. The land I live on, I could literally walk across and go into Canada. But
Wow.
yeah, it's we're right up there. But it's even I have relatives on the reservation. It's even hard. I've told Nick this several times. It's even hard for them to talk to me about these things. And I'm a blood relation. I mean, not a first cousin or anything, but second, third cousin. We are related, and they still have trouble talking to me like about the Gugway. That's one you don't mention in front of them. They don't want to talk about it at all. And
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. I mean, and there's a reason behind that. I mean, not only because you're not the right nationality, but also I found, and I've tried to speak to many different types of Native Americans, and about skinwalkers or Wendigos, and you bring up that
They
name,
don't like they don't
and
like
they
they
walk
don't like
mm-mm.
to say
away.
that word.
That's
They
the end of the
think that it's
conversation because they believe it'll bring down, a skinwalker or Wendigo upon them and their family.
Yeah,
Bring bad luck.
Yeah.
So I've learned not to say anything, but still, it doesn't get me anywhere because I'm not getting any information from them. I'd have to bring someone who is a native,
yeah,
Native American. It is frustrating, guys, because I try to do a lot of research when I'm in a different state
Mm-hmm.
and try to speak to people and generally. I'll tell you one thing though. We went to Jay. You may remember this when I went with D.A. Roberts to Kentucky LBL, Land
yes,
Between the Lakes.
yes.
Well, guys, I'm going to tell you, in Kentucky, you ask anybody over there a question about a dog man, and they walk away. They don't want to know anything. When I went to Tennessee, where they had their part of the LBL, Land Between the Lakes, everybody's open. They'll talk to you about it.
Isn't that weird?
But in Kentucky, forget about it. Mm-mm. I was in a sporting goods store trying to. I was looking at a rifle, talking to the guy, about buying it, and then I brought up Dogman, and he just took the rifle, put it back in the case, and walked away.
Wow.
Wow.
It's like nobody wants to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Nobody.
well, they gotta know something about you, and they gotta know, like me, like I said, it took a very long time, and I'd be fishing and going out with them and going to
Right.
powwow, going to the sweat lodges, doing all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Also let them know my intentions. My intentions were good. So
Yes.
Right.
very
Yes,
important to
that's
let them know
very
that
important.
we're not out, I'm not, and we aren't. We're not out there to hunt these things. We're out there.
No,
We want to
us
learn.
either.
We're here only to learn because
Yep.
I think there's some big things to learn that we can learn from these creatures.
Absolutely.
I call
Very
people
true.
actually. They're actually people. So
Absolutely. Yep.
I mean, I try to explain to them when I speak with them, you know, I run the IDP, International Dogman Project. I also run the Quad Coalition of Sciences. And what we do is we look into the different odd paranormal occurrences. You know, I explain to them, just seeking knowledge. I'm not out there to hunt them or trap them, you know, or sell them or whatever. You know, if we catch them, no, it's not what I want to do. We just want to get information, and that's it.
Mm,
Just information. I'm not
and we
even
don't
looking to take a picture of them.
yeah,
You
and we
know,
don't share their locations or nothing. Like those people, those people know. You know, if they say it to me, that's between them
right?
and me. And if somebody
right.
else wants to know, they got to ask them, not me.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
Well,
Yep.
it's very difficult. I'll tell you, it's very difficult.
Yep.
But like I tell people all the time, when I go to different states, and I mean, I don't care where, I always search out the small bookstores
Yep.
because they might have an old book on some sort of a cryptid. You search out the libraries. The older the better, guys. The older the better because you can go through their archives and look at the microfilm and microfiche,
Hmm.
and you know the newspapers, old newspapers like late 1700s, early 1800s.
Yep.
I mean, my God, you wouldn't believe some of the information you can garner from that. So it's just a good thing, you know, just traveling around. And in the meantime, I try to speak to people about things, and sometimes they give you a tidbit of information. Like
Yep.
you guys were saying, you might get an answer, and then that answer takes you, you know, into a
Somewhere else.
thousand more questions.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the people that have had stuff happen, you know, they're very passionate because the things that have happened to them really got them to think. You know, like me, I'm a hunter and fisher. And, you know, I would never the stuff that I know now. I would never ever put that together. You know, I would
Right.
Right.
you know.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Well,
It's a very interesting subject.
yeah, and Kyle and I always figured, it's probably going to be somebody's grandma driving a big Cadillac that hits one of these things on the freeway that produces a
Right.
mind from science.
Yeah.
It's not going to be one of us. So,
Right. Definitely not going to be one of us. No.
so
And there's so much information out. There's so much misinformation out there, and there's so much information out there, and they do that deliberately to throw you off. So
Yeah.
you have to keep an open mind, but at the same time, you really gotta know. You gotta put things together.
you got to experience it for yourself and
You
for
do.
yourself, you know,
You do. Yeah.
because just taking the word of other people online or on TV, things are so overinflated, especially on TV. They're so exaggerated
Oh.
to make a TV show, to make you watch it. And, a lot of times being out in the woods, I mean, it's wonderful being out in the woods, but it's like watching paint dry. You're not going to have experiences all
No.
the time. And so,
No.
There
people,
might be years in between
yeah.
something.
You know,
Years.
And
it's the
so,
things people say to me. Well, I've been in the woods all my life and I never come across a dead Bigfoot. Well,
right,
my response to that is how many times have you come across a dead bear carcass?
Or a
But
cougar,
they
Exactly.
exist.
right.
or a cougar
Exactly.
eating
The
Right.
forest will claim
moss.
its own.
The forest
Yeah,
claims its own, you
Hmm.
know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right down to the bones. Even deer will eat bone.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't believe that, but I said, yeah, they will eat bone. It's for the
Yeah.
minerals that's in there, and
Yeah.
you know, the calcium, the minerals, and all such.
Hmm.
The bugs will go on there. I mean, so you might have this 800-pound bear that's 7 feet tall, and in a matter of days, it's down to the bone. Then in a
Hmm.
Yeah.
matter of weeks, there's really not too much left.
You know?
Yeah.
I think people don't realize too is how big our forest areas are because
Oh
No,
my
not at
God.
all.
the average person that drives down the road goes to work every day at their job and then they come home and they watch TV. They have no clue.
No clue.
And there's areas out there, there's no roads, and there is land out there in the forest that people have never stepped foot on.
Never step foot in.
Period.
No.
Where I live,
Excellent point, Kyle, because you're absolutely right. There are
Been on horseback,
millions and
been out
millions
there,
of acres out there.
excellent point. Where I live in the Adirondack Mountains, there's 6.2 million acres.
Unbelievable.
And that can fit Yosemite, Glacier National, um, Grand Canyon National Park, and Everglades all in one.
Wow.
They can fit within the Adirondack Park.
Mm.
Yeah.
So there's like you said, Kyle. There's places people have not set their roots yet in this country still.
What I think
People do not realize that.
And I believe these people, these creatures, I believe that they find areas that they don't get bothered and there's food
Me
and water
too.
there. They're going to stay there as long as
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
they're going to stay there as long as they can. They don't want nothing to do with us.
No, they don't want to be bothered.
The Native Americans, they said they used back in the old days, they used to trade with them and they
Yeah.
had, they did things with them and stuff. And then when things became more civilized, that's where they went their direction and we went our direction.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. So, Jay, I think we've run out of film time
Unfortunately, you see how it goes by.
here. It went fast, guys.
Well, guys, sometime in the future, we'd love to have you back on.
Heck yeah.
Sure, we'd love to.
That'd
where
be a
you
great
would.
way
I
to.
appreciate it. Definitely.
Where are you at, Jay? What state are you in?
I'm up in New York in the Adirondack Mountains.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm way
Where
up
you at?
there. Yeah, I'm. What's that?
Oh, I was asking where Nick was. Where's he
Nick.
Well, originally I was in New Jersey, and in October of last year, I moved to North Carolina,
Oh, wow,
right in
nice.
central North Carolina, because I was coming out here with a team quite often because we had so many reports. With the IDP, that's the International Dogman Project, I get anywhere from, well, average 25 up to 45 communications a day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I have to check them out. And depending on the seriousness of the cases, but I was finding more and more that we were having a lot of cases in North Carolina. Plus,
Yeah.
I have relatives over here, and it's just a nice place. So I decided that's it. I want to move to a warmer place, and it's 500 miles south of Jersey, where I used to live. And by the way, in New Jersey, we had the Jersey Devil,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I had researched for 6 years and found out to my satisfaction. I think it's just a horse bat or a cow bat, they might even call them, because they grow up to about, some of them can grow to about 3.5 feet. And you can check it on the internet, you'll see. But anyway, that's one thing. That's what I do. I prove or disprove, that something exists. And so far, I can't disprove Dogman, and I can't disprove Sasquatch.
Yeah.
So far,
Yeah.
and I've been fortunate enough to see a chupacabra up and close in person, and like I said, the horse bat, which people believe to be the Jersey Devil, is it sure does look like all the illustrations of of what the Jersey Devil is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
In all honesty, if you ever saw it up close and in person.
Oh, wow.
So I've traveled north, south, east, and west researching things. And like I said, with the International Dogman Project, we get tons and tons of leads every day.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, and anybody listening to the show, I'm trying to put together some new teams, to go out and do the research. Because when I moved from Jersey, I left I had 3 teams over there. So we're trying to put them together. So anybody hearing this, just to let you know. And I'll hopefully soon to be joined by Jay down here, and we'll get some good teams
Moving
going.
back down south. It's just getting too cold up here for me in the wintertime.
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't
I
believe
grew
it.
up here, moved to North Carolina for years, and family things happen, and I came back up, and I just come to realize it's too damn cold.
Mm.
So
No
back
more.
down south, I'm going to be headed.
If I want to ski, I'll go to Colorado or New Mexico.
Right.
And down here, they panic if they have a half an inch of snow. A half an inch. The stores all closed. The schools shut down. All the municipalities are shut down. Everything just shuts down. It's like, really? Are you guys serious?
Driving it either.
We have 3 foot of snow in Jersey. We're driving to we're driving to the supermarket or 7-Eleven or to the mall. It's not a big deal. But
Right.
it's nice and warm down here, and that's one thing I do like.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the plus.
But
Well,
anyway,
thank
Jay,
you guys.
that's a wrap
Thank
for
you.
today, I
Thank you for
guess.
We
having
really,
me.
really appreciate you guys coming on, and we
Hope
really
to
would
see
like
you
to have you
again.
back on.
Anytime, guys.
We had a
Anytime.
great conversation with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Can you guys
And
hang around?
don't hang up when we close out the show.
When I
Hold
close
on.
out, just stick around for a minute.
Yep.
Sure.
Okay, everybody. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we go?
I don't know.
Anybody we think
I
of?
don't know.
I don't know either.
You don't have to. Just an option.
Well, good night, everybody.
Thank
God
you.
bless you, and God bless America.
All
Take
right.
care.
Have a good night, everyone. God bless.